Joined now by the great Matt Taylor, the voice of the Indianapolis Colts. Sir, how are you live from the Combine? How's it going out there?
He just dropped, so we'll see if we can get him back.
All right, we'll get him back. Still alive from the Combine. Side note, he just dropped. I like that. Perfect. No, that's funny. Not exactly a side note, pretty much much important part.
Well, I had to interrupt. I didn't know how else to address it. I was like, well, he's not here.
Side note, the guest is gone.
He's coming right back with us, but he dropped right as we were coming into the segments. I was like, man, I can't keep up now, but
man, that was funny. You there, Matt?
Hey guys, can you hear me?
Yeah. Matt is out at the Combine, so he's doing whatever he can to make sure he gets connection. How's it going out there, Matt?
Oh, it's good. It's definitely hustle and bustle, and it's a good, refreshing, busy, if you will, after not having this event last year in 2021, and then just getting back to normal, right? I mean, it's good to have, for the team's sake, in-person interviews and the medicals all in one place again. Last year was just kind of a hodgepodge of having to go to pro days and relying on the medicals, from all these different angles. It's good to get it all, in a condensed one-stop shop, if you will, here at the Combine. And it's just good from a human element as well. You get to see some old faces, some friends from other teams, and folks in the media. It's just good to have it all kind of back. And downtown Indianapolis is buzzing. The Combine is like a big football convention, and it's definitely taken over Indianapolis, and it's just a fun 4 or 5 days here in the city. And the shame of it all is that the city does it so well, and that the Colts are involved in that as well, doing their part with making Lucas Oil Stadium available and outfitting it with everything that everybody needs to watch the Combine and to assess these players. And then downtown Indianapolis is just so perfect for an event like this because it's condensed. Everything is walkable. I mean, everything is, within a 4 or 5 block radius of each other. So it's looking like the event's on the move potentially. We'll see if that comes to fruition, but looks like the NFL is going to, move this event around like they're doing with the draft and market it and, try to make an extra buck.
My first question is, what did you run the 40 in?
I ran the 40 in 12.795 seconds, which is a new personal record. I walk the 40. The 40-yard dash and my 5K time are eerily similar.
The new walk category. I forgot about that one. That's a new category.
Sign me up for walker this year.
Dustin.
That's pretty good. Matt, one of the things, covering this from the college perspective like I do, I think one of the most fun and interesting aspects about the Combine is, seeing some of these guys who come into the NFL draft and maybe don't have the draft stock, right? Like everybody's not going to get the attention of a Kayvon Thibodeau or an Aiden Hutchinson or somebody like that. The fun part to me is always seeing guys who, nobody really considers they might be a 6th or 7th round pick, or maybe they're going to be an undrafted free agent, but then they get the opportunity here to boost their draft stock. And I think that it's a lot of fun to see some of these guys who maybe they don't play on a great team, or maybe they play in the MAC or the Sun Belt Conference, and they get a chance to show what they can do on kind of a national stage here. So to me, that's always one of the fun aspects of this whole event, is seeing, certain guys are going to perform at a high level, but seeing some of those guys that you don't expect to see it from. That, to me, it's a lot of fun. So to your point, like it's great to have this event back, because I know that there were some guys who were hurt by not having this last year.
Yeah, absolutely. And by the way, like, you're the only college football media guy that's not here. What the hell are you doing? Let's get a credential. Do you want me to send you the form, Dustin? What do we have to do to get you up here, pal?
Why are you not there, by the way? I mean, you cover all of the Big Ten. I'm kind of curious. I even saw Stefan Kreisnick, former IU, he's an IU graduate, but works down in Mississippi. He's up here just covering the Mississippi State guys, and you cover all the Big Ten. Why the hell are you not up here?
you know what? Next year, now I didn't even know. So next year I'll put in a credential request and I'll be there.
You've been shamed. We have shamed you into it.
No, but in all seriousness, the really screwed up part of it is, just to give you a sense of how big of a deal this is in terms of, media spectacle and the coverage. Like, there is probably 4 times as many credentialed media here as there are prospects, players that are invited to the combine. So needless to say, this is why the NFL is trying to capitalize on this, is because it's an event. It didn't used to be. I mean, Peter King, from NBC used to, always tells the story about, 1999, 2000, which was 20 years ago. I mean, it's not that long ago in the grand scheme of things. Peyton Manning is just sort of like backed up to the bar at the Crown Plaza with 4 or 5 reporters around him. And that was the combine. That was the media access of the combine. And now it's, this huge thing that the NFL is trying to capitalize on and treat it like it's, more than really what it is, but give them the credit for their ability to do so. But at any rate, to your point, Dustin, yeah, I mean, the great thing about the combine and the draft process is that all of these guys, no matter where they come from, no matter what school they went to, they were either on great teams or not so good teams or whatever, but now they're all independent contractors, right? And they go from focusing on their team success to now their individual success, at least until they're drafted in April and May. And it's all about putting their best foot forward. And it's a grind. It's a process. And the combine's a big part of it. The pro day is a big part of it. What they're going to do, with the interviews and the medical. Each team gets 60 15-minute interviews with players. And there's over 300 guys here. So most of the guys here at the combine have a great shot at getting drafted. And, obviously where you're drafted depends on, how much money you make and the career that you might have, depending on what team you're with. So there's no question that, these 4 or 5 days in Indianapolis going into their rookie seasons is a huge, launching pad for these guys as they turn pro. And it's a lot of, there's definitely a lot of stress. There's a lot of anxiety, but they know how much weight, this event has, and it's a really, really big deal.
Absolutely. I'm holding out. Maybe next year, I think I'll be better shape, but I think I've got just a little bit. My window is still there, Matt. I think I'm still within the window.
You got that COVID year, Jim? Is that it? You got that COVID
That's
year?
It. Exactly. I'm holding back. I'm waiting for the right time when I see that there may be a break to jump in there. But no, and what is for yourself? What kind of responsibilities do you have during this?
Well, we're
just with the Colts and just overall.
Yeah, we're here on Radio Row, and it's Radio Row, but it's digital row. I mean, there's a lot of people here doing what you guys are doing right now. They're having webcasts and podcasts, and they're streaming stuff, and they're gathering content. They're talking. Each team for the most part is here represented with their media personality folks and things like that. And, they're talking to their respective head coaches, talking to their respective general managers, getting a sense for where their team is here in the off season. They're talking to different prospects. Hey, team A might need defensive ends help. So, they're talking to 4 or 5 different defensive ends to find out how these guys tick and things like that. So, it's just content overload, and it's going to be like that until Friday. Really, it started Tuesday. And again, I give credit to the NFL. They've turned this really kind of a procedural event that's really more for like football operations and turned it into a must-cover media event where each team's coach and GM, for the most part, they talk, they have a press conference. They talk about where their team's at. They give a glimpse on what they might be looking into when it comes to free agency, which, oh, by the way, starts in 2 weeks. I mean, that's what the NFL is, guys. I mean, it's never ending. I mean, as soon as the Super Bowl is over, you think, okay, football is going to disappear, but here comes the combine, here comes free agency, then it's the draft. So like it never really disappears. And, people love this stuff. I think there's a huge group of fans that are just as interested in this time of year, if not more, when it comes to, the business side of football, contracts and free agency and, draft picks. I mean, they just want to, people are obsessed with roster building, roster construction, analytics, and things like that. So that's what the combine is all about from a content standpoint. That's what we're doing. We're doing interviews, we're doing podcasts, we're doing radio shows every single day this week here at the combine.
Do you know what to me has been as big of a growing ingredient for the NFL are the fantasy leagues, because to me, they are a big part of why all these things you just mentioned, people care more about that because they have a much more personal interest in their fantasy teams, etc., because it means more. And not that it doesn't to the casual or the general fan of their teams too, but back in the day, these guys had to get second jobs, man, in the off season. Now there's something going on just nonstop year round.
Well, I think you're exactly right. I think fantasy football has done that to a degree, a large degree actually, and then also betting. I mean, listen, I mean, let's be honest with you. I mean, it's sort of changed how or for some people, it's changed how they watch sports, consume sports, how they root for sports. I mean, some people watch games because they just want to see what the score is or what they need the score to be. They don't care who wins, but you can bet on, the over or the under. I mean, it's just crazy because there's so much involved in this. And so, yeah, from a fantasy angle, a lot of people are watching the combine to get a good feel of, hey, how does this guy from Alabama translate to the NFL? How does this wide receiver from Clemson, how does he forecast as a rookie playing for the Jacksonville Jaguars? Should I draft this guy on my fantasy team? Absolutely. There's a lot of, fringe fans that may or not have watched the games anyways, but now they play fantasy football. And so they're going to be watching NFL Red Zone or watching, that Sunday afternoon, 4:00 game on Fox, that marquee game, because they've got, Dak Prescott as their quarterback in fantasy football. So it doesn't matter to the NFL because it's just boom. That's another viewer. That's another thing they can track. That's another thing they can capitalize on. So it doesn't matter why you're watching. All the NFL cares about is that you're watching, period. And they can certainly market it and make money off of that viewership.